So the complaint is we've got a two-door true cooler here. This is a refrigerator, and the complaint is that it's not working correctly, temping high. So the first thing I'm doing is just putting a thermometer in there to see what the unit's doing. So we're gonna watch it come down to temp, see where it turns on and turns off at, and see what's going on before we make any adjustments or do anything funky. So I want to show you guys a little something right here. If you Google search true warranty verification or check, it'll auto-populate. Click on that and input your serial number right there of the box you're working on, and it'll tell you if the unit's under warranty. I always tell everybody you always want to make sure it's under warranty before you start servicing the thing. Just in case it is, then you got to get a warranty verification before you do anything. So you see right here, I entered the serial number and it tells me that it was manufactured on August 1st of 2012. So this unit will be completely out of warranty. Just a little tip for you guys. You always want to check that kind of stuff. You can also verify warranty status with Manitowoc ice machines, Delfield refrigerators. I'm sure there's more. You just got to Google search, you know, whatever manufacturer it is, warranty verification, something along those lines, and you'll be able to find a lot of information without even having to make any phone calls. Okay, one thing I noticed right away, I just opened this box up, is that the temperature controller is set as cold as it'll go. Typically should be around 3 or 4. So we're gonna set that back to where it should go, and then we're gonna watch this box operate. In the meantime, I'm just looking. The condenser looks clean, don't see any problems with it. Nothing else is jumping out at me as of yet, so we're just gonna watch and see. If you don't already know, on these true coolers, if you're lucky, right on the back side of here is a schematic. Tells you what the original factory wiring is. This really comes in handy when you're changing door switches, because door switches can be very confusing on these things. So it really helps you to understand what's going on with the door switch and what wires go where. So long as you have a calibrated thermometer, this is a highly accurate calibrated thermometer here. I've got it in the return airstream, and I hit my minimum maximum position. So minimum temp was 35, and so far my maximum is 40. So I want to ensure that that doesn't go above 41 before it turns on the condensing unit. And that's just what we're waiting for. It's just a waiting game. Okay, so this guy just turned on at 42 degrees, and our minimum temperature was 35. 42 and 35, so that temperature is too high. And I set the temperature controller where it should be. Now this is a constant cut-in temperature controller, so adjusting the temperature lower will not make the cut-in of 42 any better, because it's always going to cut in at the high temperature and bring it down to the low temperature. So turning on the temperature controller knob is only going to bring the minimum temperature down. Okay, now this one's cutting in at 42. That means that more than likely we have a temperature controller issue, because it should be cutting in at about 40, 39, 40 on this particular control. So I happen to have a conversion kit for this. It's difficult to make out on the camera, but I'm concerned because that evaporator fan motor is spinning slower than I think it should. So we're going to pull it out and see if it says the RPMs on the back. If it's supposed to be a 1550 RPM, which I believe it is, we've got a fan motor that's bad. So I'm going to pull it out and check, and we'll go from there, before I replace a control, because that could be affecting the control. So again, I know it's hard to tell, but there's a massive amount of airflow difference now that I put in a different fan motor. I put in another one, a new one I should say. The rotation on the old one was 1550, but I could just tell it wasn't spinning fast enough. Now this one's in and it's moving a lot of air, so we're going to watch another temperature cycle again to see where it turns on and off at. Make sure that the fan motor wasn't just the problem. Okay, so we came back on. So that was what I thought. Low of 33, high of 40 now. So unit's operating properly. And I went ahead and cleaned the condenser, blew it out with nitrogen because it was internally dirty in the back of it. So that's going to be it for this box. Okay, so just a little recap. We had a service call on a reach-in cooler not working. We had previously diagnosed it. Another tech did, to have a bad temperature controller. We ordered the part, and then I came back out to install it and just did a double check on the diagnosis and actually found that the temperature controller was in fact not the problem. The problem was that the evaporator fan motor was going bad. It was spinning slowly. It was kind of hard to catch, but I've worked on enough of these reach-ins that I knew that something was up. Went ahead and replaced the evaporator fan motor, and that solved the problem. So inevitably what was happening was the evaporator fan motor was not spinning fast enough, therefore the evaporator coil was getting colder than it should. It has a constant cut-in temperature controller that has the sensing bulb shoved into the evaporator coil. So that was sensing a colder coil than it should have. So it thought that the box was down to temperature when it wasn't. So therefore, it would take too long to turn the box back on, and that's where we were getting our 42, 43 degree temperatures. So I went ahead and once I corrected the evaporator fan motor, or replaced it, I should say, then the existing original temperature controller was working correctly. I went ahead and set it back down to the correct setting, which was about 3.5, and that got us within the temperatures that we needed to be. So this is just kind of like a reminder that you always want to be 100% sure on your diagnosis, and sometimes you do miss things. Stuff happens. This was an easy one to miss, but you just try to be more thorough, try to make sure that we're diagnosing these things correctly. Because as we put that temperature controller in, we would have quickly realized that the problem was still there, even with the new temperature controller. So, all right, we'll see you guys on the next one.